While international travel is something I always look forward to, there's really no better feeling than going back home after spending some time abroad. After 2 weeks in Guatemala, today's journey takes us on the home stretch from Mexico City back to Chicago on the Aeromexico 737 MAX 8. The full journey from the airport arrival, onboard experience, and arrival process in the US is covered in this video, so without further delay, let's go home. I had arrived in Mexico City the night before from Guatemala City. Not wanting to be too far from the airport, I spent the night at the on-site NH Collection Hotel at Terminal 2. I already posted a full review of my stay here, so be sure to check that out if interested. It was overall a rather pleasant experience at the NH, and despite being located outside of the secure area, the hotel is right within walking distance to Terminal 2. Ideally, you should reach the airport about 2.5 to 3 hours before an international flight from Mexico City. I reached the terminal only 90 minutes before, which wasn't ideal, but that was mainly thanks to my friends who I was traveling with taking a while to get out of the hotel. Aeromexico divides its check-in area into zones, and Zone L3 is the designated area for Clase Turista economy class passengers. Because the morning is a very busy time at Mexico City, there was quite a long line for check-in today. Now, I technically didn't even have to be in this line since I had already been checked in for both flights the day before in Guatemala City. But because my friends had checked luggage and the bags were not through checked to Chicago, we still had to get in line to drop these bags off. Now, before you reach the counters, everyone gets their passports checked and then a sticker placed on them to show that they were indeed checked. Self-service kiosks are also available in case anyone was wondering, but because our situation was so specific, we ended up going to the counters anyway. Check-in took right around 30 minutes this morning. The next order of business was to clear security, and I was surprised to see TSA pre-check written on my boarding pass, as there is no pre-check in Mexico City. Still, there were no issues today, and I was through within 10 minutes, which was great because I was pretty stressed about only getting to the airport 90 minutes before my flight. Terminal 2 serves the vast majority of Aeromexico flights, along with Delta, Copa, and LATAM. This central area of the terminal offers great views of the ramp, although unfortunately, I was told off by an officer about using my camera to plane spot. The terminal has no shortage of food places and shops, although it does tend to get very crowded during peak hours. Aeromexico operates 3 daily flights between Mexico City and Chicago, and this morning we are on the first of those 3, Flight 686. Now, this is a good time to mention something that I never understood about Aeromexico and Chicago. On my booking, Chicago O'Hare isn't listed as simply ORD as it should be. Instead, it's displayed as ORDER, and I never found out what that means. Boarding was completed in zones, and today I was in Zone 3. But as is typical with Aeromexico, boarding usually involves a painfully slow-moving line because the jetway is always clogged. It quite literally took 10 minutes to get on the plane, and I'm talking about after my boarding pass was scanned. Most of Aeromexico's 737 MAX 8 fleet has a 2-class configuration with 16 Clase Premier Business Class seats and 150 Clase Turista Economy Class seats. 2 MAX 8s, Delta Alpha Echo and Mike Foxtrot November, have a 1-class configuration with 189 seats. The seats are of the slimline variety and have very loose seat cushions. Nonetheless, I found them to be very comfortable. Each seat comes with a touchscreen entertainment system with a headphone jack and USB port. There's also a tray table and a seat pocket containing a safety card and air sickness bag. The legroom is also quite nice for anyone under 6 feet tall, and on that note, under every 2 seats you will find universal power outlets. Above the seats at the passenger service units are personal air vents, reading lights, and call buttons. This aircraft had actually arrived from Chicago 4 hours earlier. Despite that lengthy layover, the seats were still littered with crumbs and whatnot from the previous flight, which was kind of disappointing since my previous 3 Aeromexico flights were pretty clean. This flight was relatively full, but despite that, the middle seat in my row remained empty, which was awesome since I had a lot more space for this nearly 4-hour flight.
Nacional O'Hare en Chicago. El tiempo estimado de vuelo será de 3 horas 30 minutos y volaremos a una altitud de 37,000 pies sobre el nivel del mar. La tripulación de sobrecargos a cargo de la ejecutiva Aviation. Siempre llévalo abrochado, sobre todo cuando la señal del cinturón esté encendida.
To fasten your seatbelt, insert the metal fitting into the your seatbelt fasten, especially when the fasten seatbelt sign is on.
Te invitamos a guardar tu equipaje de mano y artículos personales en los compartimentos superiores o debajo del asiento que está frente a ti. No debe haber ningún artículo frente a los asientos. El tubo lateral, el dispositivo de iluminación, se activará automáticamente en contacto con el agua.
To use it, place it over your head and insert the tip into the buckle and adjust by pulling on the strap. Once outside the aircraft, pull on the red toggle to inflate the vest. If the vest does not inflate, blow into the tube to inflate it. The life vest.
As expected, complimentary earphones were distributed after takeoff. What confused me is that these have a single prong, but the MEX entertainment screens have jacks for 2-prong headphones. That actually doesn't really matter since single-prong earphones will still work with this system. These Aeromexico ones aren't very good in terms of overall quality, so I had brought my own Delta ones to use. The entertainment system works beautifully and has a lot of great options, such as the ability to connect your own wireless earphones via Bluetooth. When looking through the About section, I found it interesting how some of Aeromexico's US destinations aren't even listed here, and that includes Chicago, which is surprising since Aeromexico has served the city for decades. The entertainment system also has a section to see some brief information about the flight. Let's just ignore the fact that this is a 737-800 and not a MAX 8. There's also a tab to access the 3D moving map, which has a lot of different viewing options and is also very detailed. On my previous 737 MAX flight from Mexico to Guatemala 2 weeks earlier, I noted that the subtitles would not work. While watching Top Gun Maverick, the subtitles for this movie would not work. However, when I played a different film, they were working for that one. It seems that the subtitle functionality depends on the show that's playing, so that's just something that you have to keep in mind. The 737 MAX features onboard Viasat Wi-Fi, which is different from the rather basic offering on the 737-800. This Wi-Fi comes with free messaging but rather steep rates for internet access. Generally, there's not much need for this in my opinion considering the fantastic entertainment system. In terms of refreshment service, the crew came around twice during the flight with drinks, although I never recorded those services. It was about 1 hour into the flight as we were crossing the Mexico-US border that breakfast, the one and only food service on this flight, was served. The breakfast tray came with a fresh fruit cup, yogurt, a small plastic cup, I guess, for drinks, a cold bread roll, cinnamon cookies, and the main course. There were 2 hot breakfast options this morning, a meat and egg option or French toast, of which I chose the latter. This was all served with packaged plastic cutlery. The French toast looked a little funky, but in all honesty, it was delicious and not super sweet as well. Overall, it was a fantastic breakfast that was very filling as well. As the flight went on, I explored the interactive map only to find that there's a feature that gives you details of each town or city you fly past, which is super cool. Even cooler was the fact that the ghost town of Albert, Texas was put for sale on eBay. Now, you won't notice this, but the paragraphs that you see here are verbatim copied from Wikipedia, which I found absolutely hilarious. The rest of the flight was spent watching movies and trying to sleep. But before I knew it, we were crossing into Illinois and, not long after, beginning our descent into Chicago. After 2 weeks out of the country, it felt surreal to be coming home so soon, but in any case, I was very happy to be back. Today we'd be landing from the east, and as we approached from the southwest, we actually crossed over O'Hare before flying out over Evanston and some of Lake Michigan before hitting a 180 and coming in for runway 27 center.
Bienvenidos al Aeropuerto Internacional de la Ciudad de Chicago. Para su información, la hora local es la 1:46. Por su seguridad, permanezcan sentados hasta que el avión se detenga por completo.
So, after taking 4 flights on Aeromexico, here's my final verdict on the airline. Overall, I think the service on board is pretty good with regard to the crew, food, entertainment, and the seat. The only negative aspect that was constant across all 4 flights was the inefficient boarding and deplaning processes. Now, granted, this also comes down to the passengers, but when it happens literally every time, then that shows that there's definitely a problem. So, would I recommend Aeromexico? Yes. Would I fly them again? Also yes, but it's highly unlikely since I don't travel to Mexico very often. Furthermore, if I can help it, I'm definitely going to avoid connecting through Mexico City in the future, mainly because I wasn't a big fan of the connection process there. If I'm traveling to the Caribbean, Central, or South America in the future and can't get there nonstop from Chicago, I'm more likely to prefer a connection at a US hub like Miami, Dallas, Houston, or Atlanta because those are easier and more convenient. But overall, I would say Aeromexico offers the best onboard service between the US and Mexico compared to the competition, and as you saw today, it was a great flight. This was my first time seeing the brand new hallways to immigration in the new Terminal 5 expansion. Of course, the walk to customs takes an eternity, but at least there are bathrooms and moving walkways. Surprisingly today, despite arriving during a peak international arrivals period, immigration was rather quick and I was welcomed back into the States within 10 minutes. But there we have it, welcome to Chicago and the United States. Thank you so much for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, leave a like and comment with your experiences on Aeromexico. Don't forget to subscribe as I have a lot more flight reviews and other exciting videos coming out very, very soon. Until next time, take care everyone, and I will see you next time.
Train number 107 to Antioch is now arriving. Please stand behind the yellow line.